there's this mysterious envelope, a package with a cassette in it from the Shakur Foundation. I got chills thinking about it, just talking about it. It's a song about racism and narrow-mindedness with not one but two improvised piano solos. I mean, none of that ever happens on pop radio. There's lots of self-doubt and lots of, again, potential self-loathing. Most people know me for soulful and stirring, moving music, so of course I would hope that someone would get chills listening to that kind of song. But then there's some other times where I'm just trying to have a laugh.
First of all, this is my voice. I'm Tim Green, and I have ALS. But this podcast isn't about ALS. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for me. I'm a father of 5, married for over 35 years, a New York Times best-selling author, an NFL first-round pick, and a practicing attorney. This is Nothing Left Unsaid, where my son Troy and I sit down with extraordinary people for raw, honest conversations about life, its toughest trials and greatest triumphs. My voice in today's episode is powered by 11 Labs. Bruce Hornsby, you've scored a lifetime of musical milestones, yet I wonder if one moment towers above the rest. Can you take us to when you first heard Tupac lace your piano hook from The Way It Is into his song Changes? How did that show of hip-hop recognition shape the way you think about legacy and the doors a single song can open long after we release it to the world?
Now that's a mouthful. That's about 2 or 3 or 4 questions at once. I'll do the best I can to remember all of that information. I'm going to start with the Tupac moment, and so say it was 1997 or so. It was about a year after Tupac had been assassinated in Vegas. And I'm getting my mail, and there's this mysterious envelope, a package with a cassette in it from the Shakur Foundation. I got chills thinking about it, just talking about it. So I open it up, and there's a little note saying, "We have been going through the voluminous posthumous files of Tupac Shakur, of my son." This is Afeni, his mom. And we found this gem of a song that was written over your song, The Way It Is. And here it is. It's called Changes. And now this original version on a cassette was way dirtier than the subsequent final version that they used from the greatest hits package that came out about a year later. Much more serious usage of the N-word in the original that they deleted. They excised that from the record. So that was quite a moment, because sure, I liked Tupac, but I wasn't that familiar with it. I liked what I had heard. And so, that was okay. Talking about the answer, the question was about legacy. How did I make me feel about maybe the subsequent continued usage of The Way It Is in the hip hop world that has continued to happen for me, most notably with the young Chicago rapper Polo G in the COVID era, 2020, 2021. This great young rapper Polo G made his version of Tupac's version of my song, and his song is called "Wishing for a Hero," and it's just sublime. It has a gospel choir singing coming in at the end. His lyrics are great. You can go on YouTube and find, during the COVID shutdown era, the Bonnaroo Festival had a little virtual festival called Virtual Bonnaroo, something like that. And Polo G and I did a remote duet version of "Wishing for a Hero" that can be found on YouTube. So yeah, my song "The Way It Is" has been recorded so many times in so many disparate areas, from smooth jazz to bluegrass to hip hop / rap. So yeah, it's It's a broad range, but you should hear the Skaggs Hornsby version, the fast bluegrass version of The Way It Is. That may be my favorite. Second being Tupac's, third maybe mine, but maybe Wishing for a Hero. I don't know if I answered all your questions there, Tim, but I gave it my best shot.
I think you got them. I'm going to have to listen to those after this.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I
Yeah,
did hear that. I think I remember the Polo G one. I think I have heard that.
it's badass. It's beautiful. It's so I love it.
Oh, so it wasn't Tupac who reached out. Did you like the idea initially, or did it have to grow on you?
Okay. Well, again, he didn't reach out to me. He was gone at this point. He recorded so much music in his short time on Earth that was never released, and it kept so new Tupac records, quote unquote, kept coming out every year or two after his death. So again, he didn't reach out to me. He sort of wasn't able to. I believe he. My impression is that he recorded changes just a little bit before he died, and so he was killed. So yeah, I had no relationship with him. I like to think that we would have been friends. Uh, I grew up as the only white dude on the high school basketball team, and so I grew up getting quite an education from my soul brother teammates here in Tidewater, Virginia. I would have liked to have known him.
Did you like the idea right away? Like when they reached out, were you liked it, or did you have to think about it?
Well, there had been some rap versions before, so this was not new to me. The first version that I was aware of, I think, came out around 1990, 1991, so 5 or 6 years before the Tupac thing. It was by a British rapper named MC Buzz B, B-U-Z-Z-B. MC Buzz B came out with one, and we thought it was a scream. We were all for it. We liked it. We liked it all. Then the rapper Mace came out with a song about 94, 95 called Same N-Word, plural. Right around that same time, a great San Francisco Bay Area rapper named E40 came out with a Way It Is version called I Think Things Will Never Change. And it just has kept going. So this was not new, but it's very possibly the greatest one, and certainly the most iconic. When one of my sons followed in my footsteps and surpassed me like crazy in the basketball world when he was a kid, and he just finished playing last year, his pro career at age 32. He had a long run with that. But when he was reprising my high school role as the only white boy on the team, he was doing that in the great Boo Williams local AAU program. And so we'd be taking our son Keith down to the hood of Hampton, Newport News, Allen Iverson, Michael Vick country, where I instantly had a credibility because people would go, "Oh, who's that? Oh, that's Keith's dad. He wrote Tupac's Changes." So look, that was beautiful and continues to be. So I consider that version to be the iconic version of my song, to be honest. But again, no flies on the Skaggs Hornsby version. That is no joke as well.
Back in 1986, well before hashtags or trending topics, you penned The Way It Is and put civil rights and justice on FM radio. What personal experience lit that fuse in a 20-something-year-old Bruce Hornsby? And when you play the song today, do you feel its echo growing or fading in the world that's still wrestling with the same wounds?
Okay, a multi-tiered question there. Thank you, Tim, for just making me work mentally, trying to put it all together. Okay, so you asked originally about what led me to write that. I grew up in a small southern town where those narrow-minded attitudes were very prevalent, very common. And so I wrote that song based on my experience growing up here in southeastern Virginia. Okay, daggone it. What was the next part of it? Oh, yeah, okay. Right, I got it. At, sadly, the song is still it's still relevant, and the whole Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, horrible situation. It's just continued and continues to this day with all the Sturm und Drang of our current political situation, and so yeah. Again, alas, it is still relevant. It's still a current problem, and so who knows? It may never be completely eradicated, but that we hold out hope that the key line in the song, the way it is, oh, but don't you believe them? You know, they say that's just the way it is. The narrow-minded group. Some things will never change. That's just the way it is. Oh, but don't you believe them? So that's the key line. And look, I just got chills thinking. You guys are just making me have chills here. So it's not. Yeah, thanks for some
When you
goosebumps.
wrote when you wrote that though, like my dad mentioned, it was kind of, so against the grain. Did anybody pressure you and say, hey, you really shouldn't release this? Or
Well, no, because interestingly enough, and there are lots of examples of this throughout rock and pop history. The way it is was originally thought by the self-appointed experts and arbiters of taste. It was originally thought of as a B-side, and my A&R guy, the beautiful guy who signed me, the former rhythm guitar player for the Zombies, Mr. Paul Atkinson, an elegant British gentleman, head of A&R at RCA Records, signed me to RCA in 1985. Record came out in '86, and so these big shot guys came to me and said, "Hey, I think what do you want this B side for the first single, which was another song, Every Little Kiss? What do you think that should be? We think it should be the way it is." But I had noticed anyway. I didn't have that feeling. It's long-winded and boring what I was about to say. So I has to do with radio airplay charts and them having me call early on in our record, call the big station in Bozeman, Montana, to do a live on the air phone interview, with the station, and they would send me these charts. Well, now I'm telling the story. I always noticed that whenever a second song would be added by these rock stations, it was always the way it is. So it was anytime someone at the local station made their own pick, as opposed to the song that the record company was forcing down their poor throats, they would always pick this. And so I thought, well, there's something here. And then it broke in England. It was a wonderful accident that happened.
how did it get to England?
The record was released in America in April of '86, and now the Brits were getting ready to have their release, which was going to be around early August or something like that. And so the poor, embattled, befuddled BMG London promo rep goes to his friend. We went to his friend at Radio 1, BBC Radio 1, which is the station that you want your record to be played on. He went to his friend and said, "Hey, we don't know what to do with this record. It's kind of country, but it's kind of jazz. It's got its own thing. But we don't know what to do with it. Would you mind taking this record home over the weekend, give it a listen, and get back to me?" So this guy did this, and he came in on Monday morning. He picked this one song. He put it on Radio 1, and boom, it just blew up right away. And so then everyone who had thought it was a B-side realized, oops, I think we're wrong. And it just kept going. It broke in England, then in Holland, then throughout Europe, and then in Asia, then throughout the rest of the world, and then in the United States. So it was, again, a great fluke, a wonderful accident that happened. So I thank my subsequent friend, Nick Vilkoich of Radio 1, the disc jockey who had the prescience and taste to put it on the air then.
Did you know when you wrote it and recorded it, could you tell that it was going to be a hit?
No, no, of course not. Look, it's a song about racism and narrow-mindedness with not one but two improvised piano solos. I mean, that none of that ever happens on pop radio. Now there's a great precedent on the instrumental level with Sultans of Swing, with Dire Straits, Mark Knopfler playing all those solos in between verses and choruses, and so that had happened. But this was really uh, atypical, of course, compared to anything else that would hear in any era. Maybe in the '60s when protest songs were not uncommon. The Eve of Destruction by Barry McGuire, or maybe some of Dylan's songs, "Blowing in the Wind," on and on. Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. I don't know if these were singles, but they were really well-known songs at the time. That wasn't happening so much in the mid to late '80s.
When Spike Lee heard that anthem and called you up, you doubled down on social commentary through film scores. Did you sense any backlash, spoken or silent, back then? And if today's social media existed, what do you imagine the response would have been?
Well, I have no idea. I cannot guess, prognosticate about what some reaction would have been on social media about anything I did with Spike Lee or anything else. I have no. Who can say? All I know is that I've been working with Spike Lee since 1992. Haven't worked for him for a few years, but from '92 to 2021, so I guess that makes 29 years. I was we were very much in sync, and especially in the 11 or 12 years from 2008 to 2020 or so, where I started scoring films for him. There's never been a pushback. The first We made a video in 1992 for my 1993 record Harbor Lights. Now that was a song, again tangentially related. That was a song about called "Talk of the Town." It's about the first interracial romance in my town of Williamsburg, Virginia, and all the consternation it caused among the old guard, the city council. The old town fathers are up in arms. The city council is very alarmed. Cousins and uncles are having fits. Predictors of doom think this is it. Everybody else is just thinking out loud. Me and my baby were the talk of the town. So there you have it right there in a nutshell. Uh, the statue there in the town square seems to stare at me. Anyway, it's about the paranoia of this guy who's dating the sister, and how everyone in the white world of the town is not feeling that. Not so. So we did that, and then he asked me a couple of years later if I would write a song for his great movie Clockers from '95. Shaka Khan and I had just written a song. She'd asked me if I would write a song with her, so she came down here to this very place where I'm sitting, in which I'm sitting now, and we wrote this song. And I said, Spike called me up and said, "Hey, I need this song," and I said, "Well, Shaka and I just wrote this song," and he says, "Give it to me." So I did give it to him, and it was the end title song. And we made a very enjoyable video, Shaka and I, Spike directing this on Frederick Douglass Boulevard in Harlem, Frederick Douglass Avenue, I'm not sure exactly, but uh, and then it just kept on going. I wrote a song for him for the great 2001 movie, Spike's great movie Bamboozled, which was just put into the Library of Congress Movie Hall of Fame. I wrote the end title song for that too. It's called Shadowland, and so it just kept on going. But uh, so I think that's at least part of that answers your question. But for people who wondered how this unlikely to the outsider who doesn't really know much about me, they just know a few songs from '86 to '90, and that's the tip of the iceberg. And so that gives them a little more knowledge about the Spike and Bruce collaboration, which has been deep for a long time.
I heard that you once quit childhood piano lessons, blaming the smell of embalming fluid. That's one of the great exit lines of music lore. Is that really what chased you away? And did the time off ultimately sharpen the hunger that pulled you back to the keys later on?
Okay, right. I, the family lore has it that I asked to take piano lessons at age 7. It was nobody put me into it, forced me to it. I asked my mom. Now, my mom's father had been a musician for a living when that was very uncommon in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and on in Richmond, Virginia. So she was not so uh, uninitiated in the world of music for a living. Uh, so she said, yeah. She took me over to Miss Garrison's funeral home, where Miss Garrison taught piano lessons on the 3rd floor. So to make it up to the 3rd floor, on the 1st floor, you were passing caskets and again, as Tim mentioned, the embalming fluid, and so that was a full adult dose of the macabre for a 7, 8-year-old kid. I took the lessons for about 8 years, but I was a little jock as a kid. So, and we had a great neighborhood of mostly older kids, and we were playing every sport in the season: football, basketball, baseball, etc. So, well, pretty much those three, not etc. Uh, so I just wanted to do that, and I said, "Look, I don't want to do it." Later on, my older brother, who was much more deeply into the music thing than I was as a kid, I played. It always came pretty naturally and easily to me, but I was more into the hoops and little league baseball and little football. So one time, maybe maybe my 10th grade year, late 10th grade, because I started playing summer before my 11th grade year. We were riding down the Colonial Parkway from Williamsburg to Yorktown, and my brother put in a couple of 8-track tapes back in the 8-track tape era. Tim, you may remember the 8-tracks. They were big for us. And so he puts this 8-track in of Elton John, Tumbleweed Connection. Now, that was maybe the only Elton record of the era that had no hit on it, but it was my favorite, and it moved me deeply. He played me a song called Amarina. If I was at a piano, I'd play it for you right now, and at least the intro. Uh, uh, and it just floored me. And he had already turned me on to Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, with all that great Leon Russell piano and Chris Staten piano and organ. So this influx of piano-based rock music into my world, just plus the fact that we had this nice baby grand Steinway piano in our house, it made me want to explore and try to figure out how to do that. So that was that. That was the catalyst to bring me back that brought me back to the piano at age 17.
Oh, I remember those 8 tracks. Bruce, can you set the scene in Williamsburg? Was the Hornsby household a place of Mozart and Monk, or more clanging pots? How did that sonic stew shape your ears before you even realized you were listening?
Well, Tim, I applaud you for your several alliterative moments there. Sonic Stew, Mozart and Monk, nice going. Eminem, SNS, I like it. Hats off to you. Were I wearing a hat? Mozart and Monk. Now that's a good line. Neither Mozart nor Monk was sort of part of the zeitgeist in our house at that point. But but my parents were very sort of progressive in the sense that they, at least my mom, kind of liked the modern music of the day, and my brother was so interested. And but even early on, there a tape exists. We can't seem to find it, but there's a tape existing of that has little Brucey Hornsby at age 4 singing Hound Dog, and With the Wind and the Rain in Her Hair by Pat Boone. Has my brother singing The Shaggiest Dog from the Disney movie, and my little brother at age 2.5 singing Charlie Brown. He's a clown. He's gonna get caught. Just you wait and see. Why is everybody always picking on me? So that this stuff abounded in our world. They were always recording us, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, so there was a musical stew there. Alas, no Mozart, nor neither Mozart nor Monk. I got into Monk later on when I was a total jazz devotee. I'd gone through the Leon and Elton and got turned on to Keith Jarrett and then Bill Evans and McCoy Tyner and Herbie Hancock and Wynton Kelly and Bud Powell, and really took a deep dive into that jazz language. And then Monk as well. Monk, one of the great composers and unique original stylists on the piano. But that's that's another podcast right there. You go into all that, the depth of jazz piano from 1950 on. And then you'd have to go back to deal with Art Tatum and Fats Waller and Teddy Wilson and then Oscar Peterson, who was the Tatum after Tatum. And, that's a deep well, of course. And I really swam in those waters in that well for a good while. But then I realized, well, if I go down this road and just commit myself and practice 5 hours a day, which is what I was doing at the time, I will never be anything more. I said this to myself. There's a little self-awareness of which I'm proud that I was able to have that. I realized I can do all this work and I'll never be anything more than a B team Keith Jarrett, a B team Bill Evans, and just fill in the names. So I thought, and I would always go to school. I mean, when I was going to school in Miami, I would go to the local record store in Coconut Grove. Is a great old hippie record store called the Happy Note, and I would buy a Coltrane record or a Miles Davis record and a Joni Mitchell record. And I'd always find myself listening to the Joni Mitchell record more. And so that was a self-aware moment where I realized, you know what, I really like jazz, but I'm more moved by this singer-songwriter area, Jackson Brown. It's on and on and on. So I tried to create my own. It took me a long time. I was a slow learner, still am, but I've tried to find my own voice, putting all these disparate musical areas into my own sort of stew, and that's where the song came out with the two improvised piano solos, and the song about the narrow-minded town. More intensely performed, sort of aesthetically, was the single from our next record, The Valley Road. It's a song about a young society girl who is put in the family way, knocked up, as we used to say, by a young country boy, and she's sent away to the school for unwed mothers. That was something that existed then, not sure it does now. But then that one also had not one but two solos, but it was a much sort of deeper level. It was definitely sort of a McCoy Tyner meets Steve Miller moment in my music. So we were so lucky to be able to at least have a couple of moments where these odd combinations of musical and lyrical elements just did very well on hit radio. That was kind of a scream to all of us.
At 12, the guitar became your new best friend. But at 13, basketball stole the spotlight, and now your son Keith has dribbled his way into the pros overseas. What did your basketball career teach you about music? Maybe teamwork or timing?
Look, one of the hats I've had to wear in my musical life has been the hat of the leader of the band. And so maybe it's true that my time as a baller from age, I guess, fifth grade to 12th. I almost stopped after my junior year, although it had a really good year in a really tough league here, public school league. I was starting to get into the piano more, and so I was kind of ready to move on. But I knew that if I didn't play hoops my senior year, everyone would go, "What the hell is your problem? You were second team all district last year. Now you're going to just blow it off." But that's kind of what I was interested in doing. But the teamwork idea, there was a good bit of dissension on my high school team, to be honest. I won't get into the particulars. I never have, but maybe that's one reason that it was the one facet that was moving me out of that world, but mostly was about I was getting so deeply involved in Leon and Elton and on, and Keith Jarrett and on and on. But so it's sort of intangible that I the question about what the answer to the question, what did I bring from my sports time that enabled me to flower or just be a solid, in this case, leader. Mostly, as maybe you can tell, I don't take things that seriously. I'm always looking for a laugh, and that's been my standard approach to the job of being leader of the band. I'm always the guy looking to pull the prank and phone prank somebody, or take the piss, as the Brits would say, take the piss out of an entire situation. When we broke in Europe, we were our lucky job, our reward for this great success that was happening was we were sent over there to be on every idiotic chat show with lip syncing musical guests. And boy, we just, again, as the Brits would say, we took the piss out of that like crazy. And so we weren't serious. Maybe that didn't serve us well, but we didn't care. Our videos, for instance, we made some of the worst videos ever made in the MTV era. Because again, it was a big inside joke. We were using it as an excuse to get our friends onto MTV. And so people watching these videos of ours would go, "Well, who are all these people, and why is this happening?" So maybe the idea, I didn't get it necessarily from sports, but I used it in sports. But the idea of not taking things but so seriously, I do think that served me well. Although there are some who would say that I've just shot myself in the foot with some of our shenanigans. I remember Don Henley came out to our gig at the Greek Theater in LA, and we had more idiocy going on stage there. We had, anyway, I won't get into, but it was complete inanity. And Don wrote me a letter saying, "You know what, you really need to take this more seriously. You need to, these people come to hear you. What are they going to think when you got your bus driver coming out and dancing on one of the songs, and he looks like Mr. Clean, and then you got your crew guys coming out air guitaring on something, roaring out to the front of the stage and doing like this." And it was just it was a bit laughable, but that
17 years old, ball under one arm, piano bench calling your name. Can you walk us through the moment that you realized music, not hoops, was the path for you?
My older brother was a seminal influence in my musical life. And he had played me these records, these 8-track tapes that I talked about, Leon and Elton. It made me take a deep dive into that, which the Leon thing led me more into the blues. I got into Dr. John, and then I got into Muddy Waters and Sonny Boy Williamson and Howlin' Wolf and John Lee Hooker. And I was buying all these records, driving my friends crazy with this stuff that they didn't want to hear. They just wanted to hear the rock music on the radio. I understand that. But then I started turning my friends on to the band. I'd always loved Bob Dylan. So I was always really into music. When I was 10, 11 years old, I had a little record player, portable about this big, played singles. And I'll never forget, about age 11, buying the 6.5 minute long single of on the Red Columbia label of Like a Rolling Stone, and playing it so much that I learned I could phrase right along with the singer, with Bob Dylan. I could phrase. I knew it so cold, and could replicate every phrase he sang. And so that, talk about again, seminal musical experience. And that was 11. So it was always kind of rooting around in my mind, the music thing. I always was deeply moved by it, and so. But again, I will go back. Your question was, what turned you from hoops to the piano? I mentioned that there was it was a situation fraught with dissension in my basketball world, and so that wasn't enjoyable. In a nutshell, I didn't like that. What's fun about this? People yelling at each other in the locker room, yelling at each other on the court. What's to like about that? Nothing. And so now I'm having so one on the one hand, I'm having this incredibly joyous experience discovering all this music again, brought on by my brothers turning me onto these records. And then on the other hand, it's kind of miserable, and this is not fun, and this other thing is really fun. So that look, it's pretty obvious when I explained it. This thing or this thing, the music thing. So it's pretty obvious. And look, obviously, I made the right move. Luckily for me, because it could have easily not happened as happened. We know how sort of arbitrary and capricious this whole music, or anything to which you aspire to a certain level, it can easily not happen. I have many friends who are incredibly talented who really never broke through in some way. So I'm very fortunate. But had I stayed in the hoops world, I always say that I would probably be a JV basketball coach and driver's ed instructor at the local middle school, or high school in JV. So
Many dreamers hit that dinner table showdown, the classic, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm betting my future on my music." How did that talk go in the Hornsby home?
that's a great question. It's a very simple answer. When I went to college, I went to 3 different colleges. I was a bit of a school hopper. I went to University of Richmond 1 year long enough to realize that real college and I were a bad match. So I decided I wanted to cast my lot with the musos. I wanted to do that after high school, but I didn't feel like I was good enough that I would just be laughed at by my family. And there was a bit of derision in my family when I decided to not be so intense about the follow through. And so, oh shoot, I just had a senior moment. Oh, okay, so then when I decided after the 1 year of college that I was going to go to music school, I only knew about one Berklee College of Music because my brother had a friend who'd been at UVA, University of Virginia, with him, who'd gone on to Berklee as a music student. So I realized I said, okay, I'm going to go to Berklee. And my dad, great old guy, great old country boy, wasn't really feeling this music thing. And he said to me, well, and I understood it. He said, look, I don't trust this. You were very deeply involved in the hoops thing. You were putting in the time and just driven about it. And now you just blew that. Then you just blew that off. And now you're into this music thing. I don't trust it. So if you want to do this, then you pay for it. So that was his challenge. Luckily for me, back in that time, you could make a decent living in the lounge scene, in the happy hour piano bar world. And so I said, okay. And then at Berklee, but mostly at Miami. Then I transferred to Miami for my last 2 years of college. I made my living playing the bar mitzvah circuit on Miami Beach and playing in disco bands with the matching leisure suits and playing That's the Way, I like it. And so I said, okay, Dad, I think I can do this. I think I can pay my way through, and I was able to do that. Uh, but yes, right at first there was pushback. There was disapproval from my great dad. But it's okay. It pushed me. Sometimes this disapproval can teach you good life lessons. I'm not much of a life lesson kind of guy. I don't even like to use the phrase, but it just came out. Uh, it, Having a little little challenges like that can definitely help you grow. Mostly for me, it was frivolity. Again, I didn't take these gigs very seriously, so we were just doing nutty things on these gigs in Miami. But it was the only way I could get through these things. But I was able to do it. So I think that's the answer to Tim's question. I'm not sure.
You springboarded from Richmond to Berkeley on a pristine GPA. Do you remember the envelope arriving and the flood of, am I really good enough, thoughts that followed?
Okay. I think the envelope to which you're referring would have been an acceptance letter. I think he's
Yeah.
Well, the good thing about Berkeley for people who've been playing at that time for 3 years, like me, 2.5, is that they accepted anybody. So there was no doubt about that being no concern about being rejected. Now, later on, I tried to get into, because I lived near this place, New England Conservatory of Music. I lived near there, and for some reason, I got it in my head that I wanted to transfer just across town, or actually almost next door, New England Conservatory. So I made this tape of jazz music that I can barely play now. It was this crazy, difficult program of songs, sort of mid-'60s Chick Corea, uh, modern music, a great record of his called Inner Space. I had written to Chick Corea as a freshman at University of Richmond, and he'd written me back. And it was just, of course, unbelievable and so inspiring to have some titan like that I just lionized uh, to do this, to write me back and send me sheet music of his. And so just unbelievably beautiful. What a guy he was. He was a friend of mine later on in life, which is just something else. So I had no business playing this music. I couldn't play it to save my ass, and they rejected me. But the guy called me up and he said, I can tell there's something there. You have something there. There's something in there. I don't think you're ready for us yet, but have you tried Miami? And I'd never heard of any of these places. I'd never heard of New England because just living in South Side or Southern Virginia, where there was hardly a musical mecca here. And so there were some great, fantastic musicians that came out of here, but mostly in the soul, at least in the rock area, in the soul R&B area. Gary U.S. Bonds being one of them. So right, this guy Phil Wilson was his name, head of the jazz department at New England Conservatory. He said, "Hey, have you tried Miami?" So I went out and lived in a farmhouse in Toano, Virginia, way out in the country, and bought a little upright piano and practiced for 8 hours a day and did a gig at night at a local Hilton bar. And so if you're willing to put in that kind of time, you can make a lot of strides in a short time. So 4 months after the ill-fated, terrible New England Conservatory admissions tape I made another one, much more simple music that I could really deal with, and much more well played. Sent it to Miami and got in, and that was that.
Decades from now, when someone presses play on a Bruce Hornsby tune, what feeling deep down in their chest do you hope rises first?
Great question. And it's not a simple answer. I try to write lots of different types of songs on an emotional level, on a musical complexity level. So I'm looking for different reactions in different song scenarios, for different songs. Uh, I guess most people know me for uh, a type of sort of soulful attempt at soulful and stirring, moving music. So of course, I would hope that someone would get chills listening to that kind of song. Uh, but then there's some other times where I'm just trying to have a laugh in music, and so I'm trying to write something funny. So obviously, it's not a the attempt is not for. I'm not trying to get a chilling, a goosebump effect, to have that effect. So uh, a lot of people who don't know what I do, they don't know songs like "What the Hell Happened," "Look at My Mama," "Look at My Pop," "Look at My Brother making them little girls' draws drop," "Look at My sister, so beautiful to see," "What the hell happened to me?" Got a big ass nose, fat gaps in my teeth, hair growing out my ears, and big old stanky feet. I swear the girl at the gate just gagged when I gave her my ID. What the hell happened to me? So there's a perfect example. That's not going to inspire chills, but it might get a chuckle out of people. You've got Gable and Lombard for a mom and dad. Got a big brother bragging about all the ass he's had. Must have been stuck in the shallow end of the pool of jeans. What the hell happened to me? So, and there are loads of songs like that. Now, uh, some of my some of my more what I would call softcore fans, they don't want to hear that at all. But I'm just doing this for me, and I want to have a variety of styles evident in my music. So because of that, there are a variety of ways I hope someone will respond to certain songs.
Bruce, allow me a personal lane change. When ALS barged into my life, I felt cast adrift in deep space until a quiet nudge, call it God's whisper, told me there was still more to do. Did you ever reach a chapter where doubt clouded your purpose? And if so, was there a spiritual lifeline you grabbed that steadied the journey?
Well, Tim, I'm so sorry about what's going on with you. I've dealt in I've been in the ALS world for several years. I have a great picture. I have a great friend from high school who suffered from ALS, and when I found out about this, I got in touch with her. I hadn't seen her much since high school. She was a good old friend, and she lived in the Charlottesville area. Uh, and so University of Virginia had built a huge basketball arena about maybe 15, 20 years ago, and they have big concerts there. So I said to her, her name's Eileen Murphy. I said to her, Leanie, if you ever want to go to a concert, maybe I can hook you up with that. And if I'm around, I'll try to come. And if I know the person, I'll try to get you back and meet this person whom you want to, whose concert you want to see. So she called me up and said, "Hey, Elton John's coming." I said, "Well, look, I'm not going to be there, but I think I can get you a great near to the stage seat." So I did that for her, and she had a great time. They put her right up there close. And she called me up about maybe 8 months to a year after that, and she said, "Hey, Stevie Nicks is coming." I said, "Okay, well, I see this date. I'm gonna be around then, so I will come and I will reach out to Stevie and try to figure this out." So this happened, and then this happened. This is Stevie and Eileen
That's
uh,
awesome.
at the concert, and so it was just a beautiful moment and a tribute to Stevie Nicks, because what a beautiful soul. She gave Eileen this necklace she had made that she was wearing, and it was just, again, I get chills thinking about that moment. So you guys are hooking me up on the chill level here today. So look, I'm so sorry about this. We've walked the walk with several people, and it's a fucking sentence. I'm so sorry about what's going on, Tim. But you've got it all. I know that the mental part doesn't go, and I appreciate how deep your questions have been. Have I hit an emotional, devastating wall at certain times? Look, nothing can compare to the situation. But okay, what if I always tell people that my pursuit of reaching for the stars, sort of just on an ambitious artistic level. Forget the popularity. I was never trying to be popular. Again, the popular success was a great fluke, and it's not. It was nice, but I didn't try to. I didn't continue to pursue that. I pursued something else that was a deeper exploration for me. But so I always tell people that my life is all about keeping the self-loathing at bay, because I'm a tough self-critic, and I'm always reaching for something that may be unattainable, but I'm dogged and determined to reach that. But along the way, there's lots of self-doubt and lots of, again, potential self-loathing. So that's the only thing that I can that doesn't relate. It's not even close, but it's my version of have I ever been sort of devastated by something. I guess working on something for a year and then hearing it and going, "Wow, this is still not good." That's that can kind of drop you on, on an emotional level. But that's it. Look, I'm lucky. I do. And you can tell by the way I talk about it. What I do for a living is what I love to do more than anything else that you can do outside of a bed. And so that's so really the answer to this should be, hey man, lucky me. But that's we lost our dear my brother son, who was a great guitar player. We lost him at age 29. Good while ago, about 2008 or 9, and look, that was of course extremely hard. Of course, mostly on them, on the parents, my brother and his wife. But I was close with him too, and it dropped me too, and still does. But again, yeah. So that's all I can say. That in my fortunate existence, those are the only areas where I can say, well, that's been hard.
I like to end every podcast by asking our guests to brag about their family. I think it's our magnum opus. So please brag away.
Well, my first wife of 41 years, almost 42, I think it's 41 now. Yes. She's quite an accomplished artist. She's really responsible for a lot of my crazy covers. I give her the ideas, probably maybe not, they're not so great, but she does a great job with all of that. She travels the world as a photographer, so she's really into that. She's a great painter. I made a jazz record with the great Christian McBride and the great Jack DeJohnette called Camp Meeting, and the cover was for painting. So she's very adept at everything she does in that way, and in every way. We have twin sons. The younger son by 1 minute is named Russell. He was a very solid runner for the Oregon Ducks. People who don't follow track, for people who don't follow track, I would describe his role. He was like the backup cornerback for Alabama in football, or like the eighth man for Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, Carolina in basketball. A very solid role player on the best team. And he was an 400 meter, 800 meter runner in high school. He was one of the fastest in the country. And Track and Field News had him in their year-end listings of the fastest times of the year. So he was offered by LSU which is a great track program as well as many other sports, and Oregon, which of course is at the time when Russell went there, it was the program. And then he decided to move to L.A. He was a cinema studies major. It's kind of a bootleg jock major, I guess you could say. I'm sure I might get nasty letters about that, but that's what it appeared to be in 2016 when he graduated. So he wrote on Twitter when he graduated, he said, "I'm gonna move to LA. I don't want these years, these great Oregon Duck years, to be the best years of my life, and always be looking back on this and the glory days and yacht. So I'm gonna move to LA and try to be an actor." So he did, and so we have a parking attendant for a son. He's in parked cars at the Google campus in Venice Beach, and look, it's 9 years in. He gets. He started to get much busier in the last couple of months, in the last year, but mostly he's been in, say, YouTube Batman movies and sort of deep dive indie films. And so, but he's dogged and determined, and we support that because, hey, you only live once, and fucking go for it. Try give it your best shot. He continues to improve. And so we'll see what happens. That's Russell, and his older brother by 1 minute, Keith Hornsby, had a very solid to great college career. He played for the vaunted high school venue Oak Hill basketball, and what was a low D1 recruit, and went to UNC Asheville for his first couple of years. But his second year, he really shined. And so consequently, a lot of the higher level teams took a look at this and went, maybe we missed on this kid, because it happens all the time, as we know, if you follow that. So he ended up transferring to LSU, where he had two great years and met the love of his life, the classic jock cheerleader romance, which is quite fun. And they now have two children. He lives in Baton Rouge. He played 8 years of pro, 3 years in the dreaded NBA G League. We called it the D League then. It was what it was called before Gatorade became the sponsor. Change it to the Gatorade League. He had 3 years in the D League and then went to Europe for 5 years, where he really excelled. He shot it so great over there consistently for about 5 years, starting with his last year in the G League to the first 4 years out of 5 in Europe. And now he's back at LSU as a grad assistant for the men's basketball program. And so yeah, their lives have been quite filled with, again, the ups and downs of something they've both aspired to difficult, rare areas of American life. And so we've just tried to be supportive and helpful, but it's been a wild ride with these children, but beautiful. And we couldn't be closer to those boys. We are always in touch. They're always calling. We're always calling. And so that's beautiful. We have a very close collegial relationship with our sons. It might blow up any time.
Bruce Hornsby, you are an icon. Your music has resonated with so many people and made a real impact on culture. I have to give a shout out to Huey Lewis from episode 61 for connecting us, and thank you for following through. I know you're in high demand, so thank you for sharing your stories with us today, and I hope God continues to bless you and your family.
Well, Tim, you are an amazing individual, and it's been so great to meet you and Troy. I'm really pleased to have done this. And let's shout out to the Lou Bob. That's what we call our great old friend. He's a great man. So anyway, thank you so much.
Just one question. At the end of every podcast, this is how we met you. So I got to ask you. We ask people who we talk to and say, now that you kind of got to know us and see the vibe of this, the podcast and everything, who are a couple of people that you think we should try to have on the podcast next?
I'll throw this out to you. He's one of the greatest guys I've met in the last few years. Ezra Koenig from Vampire Weekend. He has his own podcast. I haven't been doing it much. It's called Time Crisis.
Oh, I almost forgot to ask. Can you tell us about your new music and how your creative talents have evolved over the years? Personally, of your new music, my favorite is The Wild Wailing Life. It's hypnotic.
Yeah, Wild Wailing Life is the side one, cut one of our a record I made during the COVID shutdown era called Deep Sea Vents with the great chamber music, New York chamber music group Y Music. And so I'm so glad you like Wild Wailing Life. Look, I'll try to answer this quickly, and then I've really got to go. But yeah, in about 2013, I started getting all these Google alerts about this guy Justin Vernon and his band Bon Iver. So I became obviously interested, because he was shouting me out as an influence on him in his earlier days, his youth. And I started listening to it, and I thought, wow, this is so deep. Anyway, he reached out to me in 2015 to ask me to be part of this indie rock Grateful Dead tribute record. We did a version of the great Garcia Hunter song, Black Muddy River. Then then for the next 5 years, we just worked together so much. I played Coachella with him. I played his festival with him. I sit in with him on his solo gigs in nearby smaller venues. Yeah, we went in the studio. We wrote a song together for his record. We wrote a song together for my record, Absolute Zero. And then, my standard line about this, because I get asked about it a lot, is Justin Vernon opened this door for me. And I walked into this room only to find that there were a whole lot more people in this world, the indie rock or pop world, who felt about me the way he did. So then I started working with Ezra Koenig, again, Vampire Weekend, Danielle Haim, did a duet, on and on. Keep naming them. So lucky me. Again, I've had this sort of late career renaissance, and in every way, creatively, and as far as the reaction to the music from Absolute Zero on to now. Guys, it's been great to be with you. And if I think of someone to give you a recommendation, I'll let you know.
Awesome. Thanks so much,
Okay,
Bruce.
thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Tim. Thanks, Troy.